Yagami-sama is welcomed to a building by a maid. When he enters the room where they are waiting for him, one of them, named Yuki-kun, recognizes him as Kazuma and asks what he is doing there. Yuki then realizes that Kazuma must be another psychic who was called in for the exorcism that is to be performed. Another man seated with them asks Yuki how he knew Kazuma, and he responds by telling him that Yagami is a fake name and that he is a bad egg in the family. The man tells them that he does not care about their squabble as long as they perform the exorcism as they should without destroying any of his expensive items in the house. Yuki shoves Kazuma aside and runs ahead to confront the spirit, but his fierce strike is absorbed by the spirit and fired back at him, subduing him in seconds. The man who employed them sees this and becomes even more scared. So he runs to Kazuma and asks that he cast out the demon at all costs, even if it means paying him 100 times the initial bargain. Kazuma agrees to this immediately and proceeds to cast out the demon. He then uses wind energy inside him to bind the demon and cast it out without even lifting a finger. The man is astonished at the sight, and Kazuma tells him that he has 3 days to make the payment as agreed. Yuki, on the other hand, is pretending to be asleep to avoid any impending danger, but Kazuma walks up to him and hits him so that he can get up. Meanwhile, Ayano bids her friends goodbye and runs home at the fastest speed she can muster. She just realizes she is 2 hours late and that she is scared that her dad will find out and punish her severely. She is stopped in her tracks when someone calls out her name on the road. She doesn't even realize who it is, but the fear makes her start apologizing immediately. To her relief, she realizes that it is her younger brother who came to tell her that their elder brother, Kazuma, is back home. Ayano walks into the waiting room and finds her father with the family head talking. She joins them and learns from them that Kazuma has changed his name and that he cannot use fire magic like the rest of the Kanagi family. At this point, the family head, who is unhappy about this, denounces Kazuma as part of the Kanagi family. After they retire to their beds in the night, they notice a terrible wind. Unknown to them, a wind mage is in the house to take revenge on someone that had wronged him. The person turns out to be Yuki, and he begs for mercy, but the mage doesn't listen to him. Instead, he uses his wind magic to strike the frightened Yuki. The next day, the family head walks to the infirmary, where Yuki is kept so that he can heal. They investigate and find out that the injury was caused by wind magic. They are shocked to find out from Haoye, an elder in the Wind Fan clan, that a wind mage was responsible for the attack, because wind mages were thought to be powerless. Ayano meets the family head and asks to know what he thinks, because people think Kazuma is responsible for the attack. He tells her that he is going to make Kazuma pay. She asks to know if he intends to kill him, and he tells her that force is not the best resort in every situation. At the town square, Kazuma senses that he is being tailed, and the person stalking him is different from the one that was tailing him earlier, because of the difference in their energy. The person who was tailing him reports to the family head and tells him that he spotted Kazuma, and then decides that he will be summoned, and that if he doesn't agree, they may have to use force. They assign Yuki and Ugami to go summon him, although Ayano sneaks into the car and tags along with them. In the car, Ayano begs them not to tell her father that she went out with them, and then they mention that it may be a chance to watch her fight. When they get to the scene, they run towards Kazuma, but Ayano is swept in a caging wind. The other two proceed to confront Kazuma, who tells them that he was not the one that attacked the people that died in Kanagi. While they are still speaking, a strange wind blows and yanks a heavy instrument down, crushing both Yuki and Ugami. It is at this point that Ayano returns, having subdued the wind that attacked her. When she sees the corpse, she is annoyed and attacks Kazuma, but he keeps explaining during the fight that he is not the one responsible for the deaths and then leaves. Ayano eats to calm her annoyance because her father grounded her for involving herself in the fight when she shouldn't have. Her friends watch her vent, confused about how to soothe her. Kazuma's father, Genma, and Ayano's father, who is the family head, discuss the incident with Kazuma. The family head doesn't want to jump to conclusions, but Genma thinks that he is guilty of the suspicions and promises that he will bring Kazuma in for questioning. Genma calls Kazuma, and it comes as a surprise because he didn't expect his father to call him again after disowning him. Genma tells him that he wants them to meet and talk, while Kazuma has flashbacks to the time when his father banished him from the clan. Huey reports to the family head that they have not found any clue pointing to the killer of clan heirs, but that they will have some information soon. The family head is fine with it and tells him to go back and continue taking care of his ailing son. Genma tells Kazuma to turn himself in when they meet, and it makes Kazuma very angry. He tells his father that he will not be commanded and that he should try to force him if he thinks he can. They exchange several strikes, and then Genma summons the ultimate firepower on Kazuma, who realizes and summons a greater wind power that swallows his father's power and subdues him. After defeating his father, he feels good for some time, but it doesn't last because he still feels void in his heart. He took his father to the hospital where he would get treatment for the minor injuries he sustained from the fight, and then he went outside. While he stood outside, he noticed fire energy and turned to see his brother, Ren. He was informed by Hyoe about the fight, and he went to meet Kazuma, hoping to convince him to go back home and clear his name instead of avoiding and fighting the entire Kanagi family. Kazuma considers his proposition to be valid, especially because some members of the family will still listen to him, despite what they have heard about him. But he tells his little brother that he has made a resolve never to submit to anyone in the family, and so he will not meet any of them. He then mentions that he knows it is his pride talking, but he doesn't think it will hold for long because his concern for the family might overshadow his grudge. Ren asks to know what he means by that, and he tells him that he had a glimpse of the wind attacker that killed Yukoi and Ugami. He then tells him that the power it possesses is greater than Ayano can handle, as the heir and the current family head will not be able to handle it either. Ren begins to cry when he says this, and it weakens Kazuma. So he asks Ren to sleep over at his place, and that he will take him back home the next day. So, Ren cheers up, talks to his brother for a while, and sleeps off while Kazuma watches him sleep. Something startles Kazuma, and he senses the presence of the wind power that attacked and killed his cousins. He jolts up immediately and picks up his brother, Ren, who is already awake. From the sound he was hearing, he figured the spirit had used wind magic to divide the building in two, so he secures his brother in his arms and dives off a window. Meanwhile, Ayano decided to creep in on Kazuma after she got a text from Ren, telling her that he wanted to go visit his brother. She charged towards the building in a fury, in time to find Kazuma diving out of the building through a window. She looks on and realizes that the building is collapsing. She concludes that it is Kazuma's doing and vows to make him pay. Kazuma, on the other hand, fights with the spirit, only to realize too late that it has duplicated itself and captured Ren. But he also learns some tricks and fighting strategies that the spirit uses. The scene of the damaged building is being investigated by the police. Two female investigators arrive at the scene to find some clues, and conclude that the wreck was caused by a very powerful wind mage. One of the investigators asks the other how powerful he must be to cause that degree of destruction, and she answers, telling her that there is a rumor about a contractor who received direct powers from the elemental spirits, and that she thinks the contractor is responsible. Kazuma returns to Kanagi as he had promised Ren. Although it brings back memories he would rather have buried, he keeps walking until he is stopped by some family heirs who try to attack him at the gate. The family heirs accuse him of killing their cousins and try to strike him, but he shoves them off him with his power and proceeds to his business. They get up and try to attack him again, but they are ordered by the family head, Elder Soshu, to stop it immediately. He and Kazuma walk into the village while talking. During the talk, Kazuma expresses satisfaction for beating his father, and then reveals that he is not responsible for the recent deaths and havoc, including the kidnap of Ren. They get to the building, and Soshu asks Kazuma to identify the attacker from a file that he hands to him. Kazuma can recognize the man as Ryuya, and that he has the energy of a ghost. Ayano, who had just gotten back home and heard that Kazuma came by, storms into the room, interfering with the conversation. She draws her sword and charges at Kazuma, only to be stopped by her father, who scolds her for acting rashly, and tells her that the Fuga clan is responsible and not Kazuma. He reveals to them that the person who attacked Kazuma was the sixth son of Hyoe, and that after serving their family for a long time, they were using their wind magic to revolt. He goes on to tell them that the Fuga clan were once criminals, but that they seized Yuma, their source of power, so that they will be unable to commit crimes. He then tells them that the reason they kidnapped Ren was so that they could use him as a sacrifice and restore their powers, because Ren is a direct heir of the Kanagi head family. Their Yuma is locked with a seal that burns whoever tries to open it, but the seal makes an exception for direct descendants of the Kanagi head family. They plan to make Ren open the seal, after which their Yuma will attack him as revenge for being locked away. Ayano is annoyed to hear this and seeks to strike immediately because they acted out of ingratitude after being sheltered by her clan. But Kazuma tells her that although the clan is wrong, they acted because they had been offended for a very long time. He adds that he understands this because he has been in a similar position, and Soshu agreed with him. He tells them that since he became the family head, he has fought to bring balance, but it was already too late. Ayano gets up and tells her father that she will go to the location of the seal and do what she can before anything happens to Ren, who is completely innocent and has no hand in anybody's feud. Kazuma has been busy deliberating on the best way to attack the possessed Ryuya, figures out a plan, and shares it with Ayano, so that they can fight together with Borgi fire and wind magic. When Soshu agrees to the plan, Kazuma asks to know how much he will be paid for fighting for the family. Ayano is stunned and tells him that he should not charge his family for the help. Then he reminds her that he was denounced by the family. Her father weighs the situation and insists on paying, so he agrees that he will pay any price Kazuma names. On the way, Ayano expresses that she is not pleased to be working with Kazuma, and he tells her that she should learn to control her anger, because if she can't, she may not do well as a fire mage, and he was counting on her to do well with the mission at hand. Ayano is taken aback to hear that he is counting on her, and is about to express it when Kazuma senses danger and uses wind magic to haul them away from the car. Ryuya had found them, to attack them and stop them from interfering with the ritual. Kazuma had earlier told Ayano that she would fight Ryuya in front, while he backs her up from the back when Ryuya is cornered. Ayano does according to the plan, but she finds out that Kazuma is nowhere to be found when she needs backup. He shows up later to tell her that he will go ahead to the seal, and that she should keep fighting Ryuya. Ayano feels betrayed, but she continues to fight anyway. At the cave, Hyue uses Ren to break the seal, offering him as a sacrifice so that they can be granted their powers. When the Yuma breaks loose, it seeks to eat Ren up, but a wind bursts suddenly and separates them. Kazuma intervenes and shields his brother while Hyue expresses displeasure that he is against them, even when they have a common enemy. He tells Hyue that he is not offering help, but a paid service. While they speak, Ryuya appears beside them, and Kazuma realizes that Ayano must have lost for him to be there. The spirit that was released from the seal identifies Ryuya as a worthy host, possesses him immediately, and turns him into a monstrous beast. The clan members are pleased to see this and order that he attack Kazuma and his siblings as the first strike. Instead of doing that, he takes it out on them and attacks them instead. After that, he heads to the Kanagi head house to get back at them for being locked up by the clan. Kazuma decides to go after the demon immediately so that he doesn't harm the family head. On the way to the house, he stops by the valley where Ayano is lying lifeless and examines her body. After the examination, he tells Ren that it is hopeless to take her home because she will die. He tells him that she didn't sustain deep injuries, but that the small cuts are infected as Ryuya's poisonous wind blows slice through her flesh. Ren is dismayed and asks if anything can be done, and Kazuma answers, telling him that he has a potion that can revive her, but that he doesn't want to waste it on her. Ren is so annoyed to hear this that his body begins to emit flames. Kazuma notes that the fire mages have their powers triggered by anger and tells his brother that he will give her the medicine. He tries to give her the medicine, and realizes that the best way is to administer it mouth to mouth. Ayano wakes up while he is still giving her the medicine from his mouth and hits him. Ren embraces her and explains that Kazuma just gave her his elixir that can never be replenished, just to save her life. At that point, her countenance changes, and she thanks Kazuma for saving her life. He doesn't take his appreciation simply, but goes on to ask her why she failed to defeat Ryuya, rubbing it in her face until she gets upset. He then wraps them in his hands and glides with wind magic back to the family house. On their way, they realize that the presence of the Yuma attracts other evil spirits. So Ren decides to handle the smaller spirits, while his older siblings join forces to fight against the bigger demon. During the battle with the demon, Kazuma decides to strike from above, while Ayano deals him a burning strike that would terminate him forever. But when he strikes the demon, he only falls for a few seconds and gets back up again. He realizes that he will need more than that to be able to defeat the deadly demon before him, so he pleads with Ayano to keep fighting the demon so that she can stall him and buy him time, while he initiates another strike. Ayano does not feel good about this, but she fights anyway. But the power of the demon is stronger than hers, so she finds herself failing. At some point when she falls to the ground, she begins to have discouraging thoughts that make her consider giving up. But she remembers that Kazuma is counting on her and that she has to give her all for the clan. So she gets back up again, and this time, she deals the demon a blow that burns his skin severely. But the demon does not give up. He rises again to continue fighting Ayano, who is only holding up on her last strength. At that very moment, Kazuma appears before her, his eyes clear as crystal. She asks to know why his eyes look that way, and realizes when he answers her that he is a contractor, the most powerful mage alive, who made a deal to be used by spirits. Kazuma, who had put on his contractor form, was now formidably powerful. He strikes the demon with all of the winds, binding him tightly. He then asks Ayano to finish it up with her fiery strike that would burn the demon so he will be unable to rise again. Ayano does exactly as he told her, and together they dispel the demon completely. After the fight, Ayano and Kazuma engage in their usual baby for a bit, only for Kazuma to point out to her that she has lost portions of her clothes in the fight. This makes her so flustered that she bursts into flames. The female investigators get to the scene and note that the same wind mage must have been there in that scene too. One of them suspects that it is Kazuma. Kazuma visits his father in the hospital and tells him not to stress more than he should and then leaves. Kazuma is summoned to have lunch with the family at the head house, but he arrives late. He comes in, and his brother squeals in excitement and goes over to his seat to hug him. He then begins dotting on him, asking to know if he wants something to eat or drink, but Kazuma refuses. A lady walks up to him and introduces herself to him. From the introduction, he realizes that she is the sister of Ugami, one of the cousins that the wind spirit killed. She thanks him for helping to expel the spirit and tells him that she will be there to help and serve him as he desires. He then asks her if she will swerve him in bed, and she responds by saying that she will do so if it is what he desires. But Ayano will not have any of that. She dashes in between them and orders the girl not to make any such commitment because he is worth it. Kazuma tells her that if the wind spirit did not kill her brother, he may have killed Ugami by himself. He then tells her that he can see through her pretense and that she should use the knife she hid in her sleeve if she wants. She does this while everyone stares in horror. They are scared that she may have pierced Kazuma, but he used wind magic to shield himself before she could even strike, so it didn't pierce him at all. Kazuma announces to them that he has no more business with them, and then leaves. At school, Ayano has a very miserable day. Everything gets her upset very easily. Her friends noticed and asked amongst themselves if it might be some boyfriend issue, and if it would be well again. She is infuriated to hear that they even have thoughts like that. She is still talking to them when Kazuma walks by holding a lady's waist. She is even more upset when she sees them, but Kazuma pays her no regard. He tells her that they were in a motel environment and it was not good for students to be seen there. After he leaves, her friends ask to know how she has a boyfriend, and she tells them never to say that again, because Kazuma is the person she hates most in the world. While her friends are excited to hear all about Kazuma, she leaves them to go search for him and find out what he is doing with the lady she saw him with. After searching for a long time without finding him, she calls Ren to help her. Ren joins her in the search, but he tires out and asks her to just call his line instead, but she is too shy to do that. They find him after a while in a mall, waiting for someone, and then the person he is waiting for arrives. They are surprised to see that it is Misa, Ugami's sister, who had attacked him earlier. Ayano drags her brother along and begins following Kazuma, unknown to her that he has already found out that they are following him. They get to a hotel, and then Kazuma suggests they go to another one that should be more comfortable. But Misao is already done with the act and signals to the assassins she hired to kill Kazuma. When they are done with their best strikes, Ayano runs in and scolds Misao for her actions. She tries to take her in for punishment because what she did was a crime in the family, but Misao runs away. After running for a while, she gets cornered by Ayano, who is about to deal with her. But Kazuma appears before them and tells Ayano that the matter does not concern her, so she should let the girl be. But the girl is not softened by his gesture. So immediately Kazuma gets close to her. She strikes him repeatedly until she begins to cry. Kazuma places his coat over her, but she rejects it and tells him that he should never expect forgiveness from her. With that, Kazuma leaves her alone and tells her to do as she pleases. After they have all left, a being asks Misao what she wants, and she tells him that she wants to be strong and dead and get her revenge. The being tells her that he will grant her wishes and then urges her to look at his face. When Ayano sees the face of the being that was talking to her, she realizes that he is her angel. She asks to know if what they are doing is right, and he tells her that it is approved by God. He then teaches her how to take people's lives to become more powerful. Ayano takes a file to a renowned hotel in the company of her friends. On reaching the hotel, Ayano aggressively speaks to the receptionist asking for Kazuma's room. The receptionist is hesitant and scared, but still. He tells her that she can find Kazuma in the hotel suite. She thanks the receptionist and then heads straight to the elevator, where she looks at her friends and then finally asks why they are following her. They tell her that they are following her because they do not want to leave her while she makes such a bold move on her own. They think she is coming here because she likes Kazuma. Nanase even states this is quite a move played by Ayano, who always enjoys playing hard to get. This talk surprises Ayano. She asks what they are talking about, and they tell her that they feel she is only going to the hotel because of Kazuma. She makes them understand that she is not meeting him on a friendly note but on a business note, because her father sent her to meet Kazuma so that they could work together and fight off an enemy. When she gets to Kazuma's room, he makes a joke that upsets her, but she ignores him and tables the matter her father sent her to deal with. When he sees the case file, he tells Ayano that there is no need to join him. She should go on her way while he does the fighting because she is weak and unable to fight well. Unknown to her, he is only saying those things to make her annoyed because her anger is a way of drawing the attention of the spirits. After having an outburst, Ayano provokes the attention of the spirits, and so they attack her and her friends. Kazuma intervenes, but also uses the medium to trace the source of the spirits. After helping them a bit, he leaves them to go fight against the source. When he gets to the scene, he realizes that the host of the spirits is Misa, and that she decided to allow herself to be possessed because she wanted revenge. Ayano joins them after fighting off the spirits that attacked her. She also finds out what Misao did, and Misao affirms, telling them that no price is too big as long as it gives her a chance to fight Kazuma and defeat him. She adds that she doesn't consider herself to be powerful enough to fight him yet, so she disappears before they make any move against her. Meanwhile, Soshu declares that he is leaving the matter concerning Misao in the hands of the Ugami family. The family meets the police to collaborate and deal with Misao after learning that she is in a church. Ayano recognizes the policewoman as the person whose waist Kazuma was holding the other day. Ayano asks her if she had intentions of recruiting Kazuma and if that was the reason they were together the other day. But the police, whose name is Kikira, tells her that she will not divulge any details of her meeting with Kazuma and that she should not assume that their meeting was for business. The family confronts Misao and the church while the other three watch from a computer in the station. Misao asks to know why Kazuma and Ayano are not there to fight her, and then tells them that she expected Ayano to be there at least so that she could vent her anger at her for taking Kazuma's attention, which Ayano wanted but couldn't get. Ayano hears this from the computer and is so filled with rage that she forgets what she was assigned to do and storms out of the building. At the same time, Kazuma appears out of the sky, announcing that it is time to begin his dealings with Misao. Ayano looks down at the city. She looks deep in thought and wonders if she will be able to go after Kazuma if he is serious. Ayano wonders what the best thing to do is. Then at the police headquarters, Kirika is worried because she feels Ayano is no match for Kazuma. At the top of the building, Ayano says her thoughts out loud. She wonders how long it will last. Will I last for a few seconds, for a couple of moments? But she strengthens her resolve, saying that she needs to do anything to make sure she stops the current situation. Kazuma is making his way down to the scene when he sees Ayano charging at him. She strikes him a couple of times, but none of them lands on him. He then asks why she is attacking him, and she reveals that she wants to buy some time so that the Ugami family can finish their business without interruption. He laughs and tells her that it may be the other way around in a few seconds. Just as he had said, in a few seconds, a very large, eerie ray shoots into the sky. They go to the scene to find out what has happened and discover that Misao has killed her family members. She tells them that she does not consider them to be her family, and that her brother was the only one she considered family and Kazuma took him from her. She musters all the energy in her into a fierce force and strikes Kazuma with it, but to her surprise, he doesn't even flinch. She expresses shock and tells them that her dear angel told her that the strike would work and that she'd avenged her brother's death. But the supposed angel comes out and tells her that he lied. He lied about her actions being legitimate, and he lied that she would ever have enough strength to fight Kazuma. She is so distraught that she screams and then passes out afterward. The angel begins to drain the power from her body and admits that it was the plan all along. He then introduces himself, and Kazuma recognizes him as an old enemy. He then takes the form of a dragon and begins to fight Kazuma. Kazuma fights back, ensuring that he secures Ayano first and Ren first. Ayano questions his help, pointing out that he should be helping Misao instead since he likes her very much. He answers her by telling her that if she ended up dead, then saving Misao would be pointless, and so he will save them all and do as much as his power permits. She notices while they speak that Kazuma secured an injury during the fight, so she asks him to rest a bit and try to recover while she and Ren hold up until he is in better shape. He is touched by this and hugs her, a reaction that shocks her but makes her feel warm as well. While Ren and Ayano fight off the demon, Kazuma draws strength from the wind, putting on his contractor form. When he returns, he unites his power with Ayano's, turning the yellow flame in her sword to a blue flame, which burns faster and hotter. She then strikes the demon with the sword, engulfing it in fire until it gives Misao up and burns to death. Kazuma walks to where Misao is sprawled and wakes her. He puts a jacket over her and tells her to go home. She doesn't want to return home because of the gravity of her offenses, but he insists that she go home and not try to avoid her sins. He then tells her that the first way to atone for her sins is to give him her body. When they take her home the next day, she asks to know why Kazuma went through the pain of saving her. He answers by reminding her of a time when they were little. All their cousins had gathered to taunt him because of his inability to use magic. They began to use fire on him, amused that his body could feel the effect of heat, even though it shouldn't as a fire mage. She had been the only one to stop them, saving his life and encouraging him even at a tender age. They bid themselves farewell and return to the head house. While returning home from school, a student runs through the halls of the school. She has just finished a meeting with the school president, and she notices that it is late into the night, and she is walking home alone. At that point, the cherry tree in the school begins to look monstrous, and she remembers that it is rumored to be mysterious. She shrugs it off and continues walking home, but hears some eerie voices as she keeps walking. She tries to ignore the voices as mere imaginations, but the voices persist in her head. Then she sees a bright, floating light moving behind her that scares her. The next morning, Ayano is being addressed by her father, who tells her that there are strange occurrences in her school, and she tells him that she has not witnessed anything like that. He then tells her that regardless, he will give her a mission to investigate the happenings in her school and assign a bodyguard to make sure that she is safe at every point. She tells him that they have never had to use bodyguards before, and so it was going to be awkward, starting to use one. He tells her not to worry, because the bodyguard is someone she is already familiar with. At that very moment, Kazuma walks in, and she is just shocked to find that he will be the bodyguard. She tells her father that she is not cool with the idea, and then he tells her that he will assign Officer Kikita instead. But as she considers it, she imagines that it will only make her closer to Kazuma, so she accepts the case immediately, and then Kazuma whisks her away to go start their mission. They get to the school and begin to inspect the area, and then Ayano finds some grasses moving. She thinks that it would be some ghost, so she lands a strike in the direction of the moving bush without any thought. Kazuma sees this and diverts it immediately, saving her friends Nanase and Yukari. They confess that they came to see if there is any danger, as the rumor had claimed. She tells them to go home because the mission is dangerous, but they insist, stating that they depended on Kazuma to protect them, but he tells them that he was only assigned to Ayano and would protect her alone. When they go into the school compound, Yukari begins to outline the 7 scary wonders, while the others argue that it is not true. They tell Kazuma that he should use his wind energy to look out and let them know if he senses anything strange around them. He senses something strange called the Hitodama passing them, but it passes at a very high speed that they are unable to capture it on camera. They wait to see if another one will pass, and it does. This time, it speaks and tells them to go home, or it will hit them. Ayano reacts by drawing out her sword and aiming a strike which Hitodama dodges. She is about to strike again when Kazuma stops her and tells her it is better to follow it and know what it is planning instead. So they follow the Hitodama. Back at home, Ren tells their father that he would be willing to join his brother and sister anytime to fight off evil spirits. His father tells him that there will be no need for that, and then he asks to know what Ren thinks about Ayano and Kazuma. So Ren tells his father that he thinks they should stop arguing so much and get along more. Back in school, the Hitodama continues to make strange things happen around them, making the girls run until they get to a safe place. They ask to know if Kazuma has gotten any clues yet, and he tells them that the wind seems to be converging in the backyard, where the mysterious tree is located. They head there and find the Hitodama still being a nuisance, so Kazuma catches it and finds that there is a pixie inside of it that was responsible for the mischievous acts. The pixie leads them to witness the last bloom of the cherry tree and then fade into the wind. Ren is in a classroom, being dragged by Kanon and Tatsuya. They are struggling to get his company through the break period, and Tatsuya seems to be getting the upper hand, but Kanon doesn't relent and ends up winning. Ren is shocked that Kanon wants his attention, because he believes ladies should choose bigger and stronger guys like his brother. At the end of the day, Ren finds himself tired and walking alone back home. He hears the voice of someone singing and runs to find the girl singing at the top of a playground. She comments on the brightness of the moon and asks that they play for a bit. Although he is scared that it was way past the time he was supposed to be out playing, he agrees, and even gives her his jacket to put on while they play so she feels warm. Meanwhile, Ayano and Kazuma head to a restaurant after fighting off another Yuma. At the restaurant, Ayano orders expensive meals, knowing that Kazuma will be the one paying for the meal. Kazuma notices while they eat that a pixie is calling his attention from outside the window, so he excuses himself to go out and meet the pixie. The pixie tells him that the land of pixies is in trouble. They need his help to return a treasure that was stolen so they won't go into extinction. He asks to know how much he will be paid for his service, and the pixie tells him that he should just help them because they are also wine creatures. He shoves her lightly and tells her that he does nothing for free, so she tells him that he can have a portion of the gold in their kingdom. After they finish playing, Ren promises the girl, named Ayumi, that if she is willing, he will play with her again any other day. While he speaks, several uniformed men come down from a vehicle and rush towards them, bending Ayumi. Ren, who witnessed these things in shock, finally realizes the situation and fights them off to protect Ayumi. When they see his skillful use of martial arts and fire magic, they realize he is of the Kanagi family and tell him that they are from the Suwabuki family, a family that is revered and feared in the town. But he doesn't let this stop him. He creates a fire barrier that is so strong they realize it is useless trying, so they retreat and go back the same way they came. Ayumi thanks Ren, and then they head into town. Back at home, Soshu addresses Ayano and tells her that he just received a call from the Tsuwabuki family, telling him that Ren stole their treasure and that they may resort to killing him if they find him. He tells his daughter to help find Ren and then reach Kazuma if she can, so he goes with her. Kazuma is driving with the pixie perching beside him. She shares the image of their treasure and discloses that it was stolen from them by the Tsuwabuki family. Kazuma smiles satisfactorily and tells the pixie that he has been longing to get his revenge on the family for a while, and this was just the perfect opportunity. At the palace of Princess Mayumi, heir of the Tsuwabuki family, the head guard reports the incident and she takes it out on him. He promises her that he will retrieve it at all costs, even if it means killing Ren. The other guards report to Kureha, who is the ruler of the clan. She tells them that they need to retrieve the treasure before the next day, which is their grand ceremony. While speaking, she senses that Kazuma and the pixie are somewhere close, listening in on the conversation, so she uses her magic to pull them in. When they get into the building, the guards try to attack them, but Kazuma slices through the blows with his magic. He then confronts them for stealing a treasure from the fairies and tells them that they either give up on their evil plans on the day of the ceremony or face the consequences. With this, he makes his exit with the fairy while they keep staring in shock. Kazuma knows that they will not relent, and he plans to wait till they retrieve the treasure before seizing it from them and returning it to the pixie. Ayumi thanks Ren for saving her and staying with her when she didn't want to go back home, and he tells her that it is nothing to him. He then tells her that if she doesn't feel safe at home, she should follow him to his own house, but she refuses and tells him that it might not be safe there either. She then discloses to him that she is a direct descendant of the Suwabuki family and was to be used for the grand ceremony. At the premise of the Suwabuki settlements, Kazuma recounts to the pixie the significance of the grand ceremony. He tells her that the mountain had an eruption 300 years ago, and that a beast was born out of it. The beast stomps its legs to cause earthquakes and roars to cause more eruptions. But the Tsuwabuki family prayed and got earth power to be able to seal the beast and stop the commotion. Because the beast is strong, the ritual has to be repeated every 30 years, and each time, the conductor's life would be given up in the course of the ritual. Ayumi is explaining the same thing to Ren, who doesn't want to believe it has to be her that must be the sacrifice. But she explains that it is for the greater good, that by dying, she can save many more people from the eruption of the mountain that could destroy the town. Ren believes there has to be another way that doesn't involve dying, so he promises that he will protect her and find another way. He walks her home and shows her a magic trick to cheer her up and give her hope. Mayumi walks in at that point and announces that it will be easier to die after bidding farewell to her friend, and then calls Ayumi to come into the house. Ren wonders why she would say this, and then she tells him that she is meant to be a sacrifice for the ceremony. The princess's guard begins to beat Ayumi up for going away for so long, and this makes Ren so angry that he attacks the guard. He beats the guard, but the guard does not stop riding again and again. The princess then tells him that it is pointless fighting for Ayumi because she is not a human, but a doll that was made to look like a human, so that she will be able to die in place of the princess because the family could not risk any family member for the ceremony. This breaks Ren's heart, but his sister arrives at that moment to cheer him up while the princess seizes Ayumi and drives away with her. Officer Kikira, who had driven with Ayano to the scene, observes the situation and decides that something is going on that she is not aware of, and that even though the princess just left with the supposed property, the fight was not over. Kazuma wakes up with a start, jolting the fairy who had been sleeping on his head. He tells her that he can sense the treasure she has been talking about. She scans the environment and finds the treasure too. She is excited to have found the treasure, so she asks Kazuma to get into action immediately and retrieve the treasure. But Kazuma does not want to go in just yet. He thinks it is better to take them by surprise and seize the treasure just before the ceremony, so they will neither see it coming nor will they be able to make a backup plan. The fairy, Tiana, notes the sheer mischief in his voice and shudders. Inside the palace, Kureha takes Ayumi and Mayumi into a sanctuary, and it makes Fuji the guard suspicious. He confronts the ruler and asks to know where Mayumi is, and then she tells him that she took them into a sanctuary. She then tells him to come with her so that she can show him where they are. He is alarmed when he sees Mayumi trapped in a crystal, and then Kureha tells him that she is not a replacement, just a means of supplementing the energy that Ayumi may not have to finish the ritual. She tells him that the only thing that can make her lose her life is if someone interrupts the process after it is initiated. She tells him that there is a chance that a wind mage will come in during the ceremony to interrupt the process and seize the treasure. She tells him that if he wants to preserve Mayumi's life, he must make sure that he fights off the wind mage when he comes. She tells him that the grand ceremony will make power available, and she will give it to him if he complies, and he should. The family head speaks to someone on the phone and tells the person that Ren is depressed at the time, but that he will be fine. Ayano walks in and joins her father, who tells her that she should not disturb the affairs of the grand ceremony because they have an important duty of always looking out for the mountain every 30 years. She agrees to it and gives her father her word. Meanwhile, Kureha is in the sanctuary listing the possible obstacles that may have stopped her from going through with her plans. She mentions the matter with Ren, which is settled. She mentions the issue with Kazuma, which she believes Yuki will sort out. Lastly, she mentions that her father may have been another setback, but she had turned him to stone, so it was not a matter to be disturbed about. Back at home, Ayano reaches out to Ren and asks to know why he gave up on Ayumi. He tells her that he did not mean to, but that he had no other choice because she had an important task to complete, and she made the choice by herself. After some thought, he decides that he wants to see her, tell her that he is grateful for their time together, and apologize to her for not fighting for her. Together, they go to the Tsuwabuki settlement, but they are met with a fight because the people anticipated their coming. An earth golem fights fiercely against them, but Ren recognizes the voice as Yuji's voice. He then asks to know how he became a golem, and Yuji tells him that it happened because he wanted power to protect Princess Mayui, and Kureha made him a golem so that he could fight for the princess. While they fight, the golem captures Ren, but this doesn't last because a slice cuts the golem in two. They look up and find Kazuma gliding in with Tiana the fairy. They are excited to see him, but he warns them to be careful because the golem is not dead yet. The golem regenerates and begins to fight again because he cannot stand being unable to see the princess again, and he fears that if he lets them go, he will lose the princess to death. Ren realizes Yuji is fighting out of love, and so he uses a purifying fire to melt the sand away until Yuji comes back to his actual form. Kureha, who had been watching from above them, strikes them after realizing that Yuki has lost. Kazuma uses his wind to send Ren into the building, to Ayumi's location, and then he faces Kureha with Ayano by his side. The wind leads Ren to the sanctuary, where Ayumi is held by some guards. He falls roughly to the ground when he gets there, but he gets back up immediately. The guards do not budge when he tells them that he has come to rescue Ayumi. They ask how he intends to do so. He informs them that since the main cause of the problem is the beast that was sealed, he would destroy the beast forever so that sacrifices would not be needed anymore. The guards think he is being ridiculous. They tell him to quit lying to himself. Ren is relentless and tells them that he will go on with his mission whether they like it or not. They get ready to fight him while he prepares his fire strike. Before he strikes them, he lets them know that he defeated Yuji, the chief guard. This revelation frightens them, so they run off while he goes to Ayumi and promises her that he will protect her at all costs. She doesn't believe he can, especially because she will still die even if the beast is destroyed. But Ren is hopeful that he can help her, so he promises that he will bring her wish of living to pass. While they speak, Kazuma runs in to meet them. He just uses Ayano as bait again, leaving her to fight Kureha on her own. Ren tries to point out that his sister will throw a fit about it later, but Kazuma tells him to move because they have a beast to defeat. Ayano is still fighting Kureha on her own, and she is finding it difficult because Kureha uses the powers of the beast, which is very strong. She is also annoyed because Kazuma left her to fight alone, and she swears that she will kill him when he returns. She suddenly hears his voice behind her and charges at him immediately. Kureha tells them that even if they rescue the girl, she will still seize them if she wants because the important ceremony has to be carried out. Kazuma tells her to stop lying because they have already found out why she is bent on the ritual, because she wants the power of the beast, and the ritual is the only way to have it. He goes on to tell her that she should have questioned herself to know why she didn't turn into a monster after using the beast's power, which is abnormal. He reveals to her that the only way she can use a certain power without turning is if she was born with it. So, the beast has always been inside her, controlling her without her knowledge. They ask to know where the beast is, and she answers that it is inside the sanctuary. At that point, Kazuma becomes perplexed on the next step, because he dumped heavy stones on the place where the beast was said to be, and so they would have difficulty reaching the place to destroy the beast. They are still speaking when the mountain begins to quake, and they realize that there is going to be an eruption. A beast emerges from the mountain, which they recognize as Zenon. The appearance of Zenon makes Kuhera unwell, so she falls to the ground while the beast retrieves his powers from her. He uses this power to strike Kazuma, Ayano, and Ren. They try their best to strike back, but none of them has any effect on him. They are frustrated, trying to understand why this is so, and then Kazuma discovers that the beast is using a part of his power to generate a shield for himself, so that none of their strikes against him touch him in any way. Kuhara comes back to consciousness and is annoyed at the beast for using her and taking the powers that he gave her back. She stands defenseless before him to vent her anger, but she does not last long because the beast shoots a ball of energy at her that fries her in a second. Kazuma is disappointed to see this because he had expected her to be wiser when getting back at the demon, but he casts his focus back to the fight. He tries to think of ways to weaken the barrier around the beast, but he doesn't come up with any idea. Ayano asks him to put on his contractor form, but he responds by telling her that it would only be a waste, because if he broke the barrier, there would be no more strength to kill the beast. While they go back and forth about what to do, they sense a bright energy from behind them. When they turn to look at the source of the power, they find Ayumi using her power to weaken the barrier of the beast. This is a very alarming sight to Ren because he knows that using her powers will only speed up her time of death. He calls out to her and tells her to stop, but Ketsuma lets him know that she did it because of her love, so he should do something because of his love for her. This stirs Ren to anger, and he asks his siblings to assist him as he makes one last move to defeat the beast. Ayano uses her sword to slash, Kazuma uses wind to fuel their power, and Ren uses the god's fire to set the beast ablaze, killing the monster. After the monster is defeated, Ren rushes to Ayumi's side, but she is already passing away. He tells her he is proud of her, and she tells him to smile so that it will be her last memory of him before passing. He smiles while watching her disappear into thin air. Then his siblings come by to console him. Days after Ayumi's passing, Ren is not as sad as he was before. He believes that Ayumi is still with him, in his heart. In the first scene, Ayano is taking a shower happily. She seems to be smiling as noise rings out in the background. Then she steps out into her room, and while she stares into the mirror, she receives a voicemail from different friends as she stares into the mirror admiring her face. She sprays deodorant and other sprays to keep her body and her hair fresh. Ren, one of the friends who leaves her a voice note, wonders whether everything is going to be okay as he walks down the street. Ayano picks one cloth from the rest of her outfits, then she picks a call from Kazuma. Later, Kazuma, Ayano, and Ren go to the amusement park. Kazuma has never been to one because his old man always told him to train in his free time, and this talk surprised Ayano and Ren. Once they reach the park, Kazuma starts scanning the area while Ayano tells him to relax. The group runs into Suzuhara and Tatsuya. They are friends of Ren, and they are excited to meet Ren with his other friends. Kusama tells Ren to join his friends while he and Ayano go the other way. Ren excitedly walks away. Kusama tells Ayano that he decided to go with her since she is the last person he will need for his work. This talk annoys Ayano, who when they are reporting to her dad informs him of what Kusama says. Unfortunately for Ayano, her dad brushes it off and then hands them another job to do. At the other side of the park, Ren is looking worried as he watches a pass handed to him by Ayano's dad, who told him to report later to his room. Ren is sitting on a table when Suzuhara brings out a mini sandwich to hand him, but they are interrupted by Tatsuya, who bangs a tray with some drinks on the table. Ren thanks him, but Suzuhara looks angrily at Tatsuya for his annoying timing. Elsewhere, Kazuma and Ayano sit on a bench. Ayano is itching to go for a ride and some form of romance, but Kazuma does not notice. Instead, he sees a man disguised as a woman sneaking into the female toilet. Ayano swiftly beats him. Afterward, they call the police, who quickly pick the men up. After the police leave, Ayano and Kazuma get on a ride through the park. They are talking when Ayano sees some funny-looking people staring at them. At the other end of the park, Ren is having fun with his friends, but they keep arguing. After the ride, Ayano goes to pursue the strange people watching her and Kazuma, but they get away. She doesn't know it's Nanase and Yukari in disguise. Ayano and Kazuma enter a ride where they are alone when Ayano complains to Kazuma about how he did not pursue those two people who were watching them. She complains about how her father chooses not to listen to her when she complains about Kazuma's attitude. Kazuma remains quiet and closes his eyes to get some peace. Then Ayano is distracted by the beautiful sunset. She looks out and smiles. Kazuma looks her innocent face. He smiles to himself. Outside the ride, Ren and his friends admire the different colors being emitted by the Ferris wheel. Then Ren has a memory which saddens him of Ayumi. Suzuhara calls him back, then tells Ren that she is here if he ever wants to open up as she holds his hands. Once more, Tatsuya spoils the moment by telling both of them that they watch too many space operas. This talk snaps Ren back to reality, and once he notices Suzuhara is holding his hands, he runs away, flustered. Tatsuya kicks and beats Tatsuya for spoiling the moment, but she stops when Ren starts laughing and then goes to hug her friend. On the ride, Kazuma and Ayano see Ren, and they are happy he is having some fun. Their hands touch, but Kazuma does not notice. Ayano leaves it that way for the rest of the ride. Afterward, they get down to meet Ren and his friends. Kazuma asks Ren if the plan all along was for all of them to have an enjoyable day, and Ren admits that is what the plan was, but Ayano has not been able to figure it out yet. She still thinks there is a mission ongoing on. From afar, she spots the strange people she saw earlier, but after they remove their disguises, it becomes obvious that they are her friends, Nanase and Yukari. At the hospital, the police officer watches as the two friends put on disguises and play with each other, while the friends show pictures they took from the day of Kazuma and Ayano's date. A plane lands from the sky, and at the check-in area, an American woman is checked into the country. She says she is here for a duel to retrieve a title from a remote and backward clan, and the woman laughs loudly. At school, Ayano's mind drifts away from the class while the teacher dictates, but her mind is brought back to the present when the teacher calls her. After the class, her friends tell her that it is too obvious that she is going on a date with Kazuma. They feel it is the cause of her excitement. Ayano tries to deny it, but all her ploys just make it more obvious that is the date she is preparing for. At night, Ayano arrives on a limousine at the restaurant. She steps out looking elegant, and Kazuma is waiting for her. They both walk into the restaurant hand in hand. At the same time in the training room, Ren is massaging the master. He asks him why Ayano is dressed so elegantly. He also states the fact that Kazuma and Ayano are now better friends than before. Ren hopes things work out between both of them. The master wishes the same too because he feels Kazuma is someone who is needed for the Kanagi's family future. He believes he will return to the clan and hopes that the two kids will finally hit things off tonight with the plan he has set in place. At the restaurant, Kazama has some wine while he and Ayano make some small talk. A waiter brings some new exquisite wine that Kazuma uses to make fun of Ayano because she is not yet of age. While they talk, a militia invades the restaurant. They call themselves Howling of the Defeated Dog. It is a militia that fears for the state of the world. The militia causes turmoil to take place in the restaurant and then steal goods from everyone. They notice that Ayano and Kazuma are still feeding. They go to talk to them, but are interrupted by a spirit creature, one owned by the woman who was at the airport earlier. The creature pursues the militia away. Then the woman introduces herself. She is Katherine McDonald. Kazuma is well informed of the McDonald family, but Ayano has no idea of the family. Katherine goes on to tell Katherine more in-depth details of her popular family, but Ayano does not care. She tries to downplay it, but Katherine does not have it. Katherine and Ayano clash with words as Katherine highlights the fact that Ayano allowed the militia to go free while Ayano hits back at her telling Katherine that her monster went overboard in its bid to get rid of the militia. Afterward, Katherine tells Ayano that she is here to take away their family name, the most powerful family in terms of fire magic. She tells Ayano that she wants her to hand the legendary weapon enro, which was given to the Kanagi family by the Spirit King. Ayano tells Katherine that she won't hand over her family's pride to her. She tells Katherine that although her family has worked hard, it is a bit too egotistical to challenge the Kanagi family. Ayano and Katherine set for battle. Katherine summons Metatron, the ultimate spirit beast which represents the entire efforts of her family. Ayano sets herself but asks Katherine if she believes her fire-based attacks will work. Katherine smirks, then she tells Ayano that Metatron's fire is special. The battle begins between both of them. Ayano fights, but the movement of the spirit beast astounds her, as she is only used to fighting humans. She cuts the beast down, but it reconnects back its limbs. In the training room, Ayano's father receives a call from the police telling him about the ongoing battle. Kazuma has been watching the battle from the sidelines all this time. He chooses to advise Ayano on what to do. Kazuma listens to his words, then she uses fire to purge Metatron. Afterward, she turns to tell Katherine what she did, but the fire from purged Metatron builds up. It then explodes, but thankfully, the three of them escape unharmed. Katherine flies away with her reconstructed Metatron, telling Ayano she will beat her the next time they fight. Katherine laughs loudly as they fly. Ayano complains, but Kazuma brings her attention to the building she fought in. He tells her to burn the damaged part of the building away so the fire won't spread and the building won't cave in. Ayano goes all out as Kazuma supports her. Afterward, both of them walk down a pathway. Ayano is unhappy because the night did not turn out as she expected, but Kazuma sees a local restaurant. Both of them enter in and eat some food. Kazuma brings out a wine and then pours it into a cup. Ayano is enjoying some noodles as Kazuma drinks his wine. At the house, Ayano's father apologizes to the owners of the hotel. He tells them that all the damages will be paid for by the Kanagi family. In the middle of the city, people's peace is being disrupted by Katherine. She is going about eliminating Yumas, but she is going overboard. Outside the police station, Kusamo and Kurika learn about what is going on in the city. As they are walking, they see Katherine harassing a waiter with Metatron. She asks him to give her a much better tea than the bland one he dared to give her previously. They go to meet Katherine, and Kurika is surprised to find out that Kusamo knows her. Kurika learns of Katherine's family, and then Kusamo explains that Katherine has come to Japan to pick a fight with Ayano for the title of the strongest fire family. This makes Kurika laugh. Kazuma tells Katherine that she is beyond the level of fighting weaker people to improve herself, and that her time will be better spent trying to improve her spirit beast instead. Katherine picks a fight with Kazuma because of his words. Later, they battle in the field, but Kazuma easily dispatches Metatron. Katherine is surprised by this. Kazuma tells Katherine that she will be unable to defeat Ayano because of the current way she fights. He tells Katherine that she is too dependent on Metatron, hence once it is defeated she has no clue what to do next. He tells her that the evil-crushing flame Ayano uses will destroy her Metatron in one shot, so she is foolish to battle against Ayano. His harsh words annoy Katherine, but she believes there is much truth behind what Kazuma is saying. She asks why Kazuma is teaching her, then she learns he is just someone hired for money. At school, Ayano learns Kazuma is working with another girl because her friends tell her, and she gets jealous. Later on, Kazuma comes to hand Ayano a duel request from Katherine. Then she learns that Katherine is the girl Kazuma was sided with. Kazuma also informs Ayano that he has been coaching Katherine on how she will defeat Ayano. Kazuma leaves as Ayano watches in dismay. Much later in the park, Kazuma explains to Katherine how she has improved because of his teachings. He also tells her how she and Ayano have the same fighting styles. Kazuma tells her that she cannot use a spirit beast to defeat Enraiha. He then tells Katherine to train on her own because he needs to return to eat. Katherine tries to pursue him, but she slips, and then falls into his arms after this. She starts having feelings for Kazuma. At night, Ren is massaging the master who tells him that he is scared because Katherine could become Ayano's rival in terms of fighting, but also romantically. At the same time, in Ayano's room, she is punching a pillow with Kazuma's face on it while she calls him idiot. She does it repeatedly before she falls asleep. On the next day, Ayano is with Nanase and Yukari at a restaurant. They are scared for her as she angrily eats lots of cake and snacks. While she is eating, Katherine walks in with Kazuma. Katherine brings him here to celebrate the completion of her training, and Katherine makes Ayano jealous by being all flirty. Katherine then tells Ayano that after defeating her in the duel, she plans on taking Kazuma back with her to America. The idea shocks Ayano, but Kazuma seems uncaring about it. Ayano runs out of the room. She is scared and annoyed. The next day, the two girls battle. Katherine summons Metatron once more, but this time as Ayano destroys it, Katherine has an ace up her sleeve. She uses little creatures called wisps to surround Asano. Asano is overwhelmed by this many creatures, and as she evades, she is completely beaten up by these creatures. Katherine makes a joke at Ayano, telling her how she plans to marry Kusama. Katherine's jest makes Ayano stronger. She then easily gets rid of the wisps before she fires an attack at Katherine. Katherine walks up to her and then congratulates Asano on defeating her. Asano has been able to improve within this battle, and this was part of Kazuma's plan all along. After the girls have a friendly clash because of their love for Kazuma, Katherine is more open, but Ayano continues to hide her true feelings behind vague words. Ayano and her friends go to the hot spring with Ren and Kazuma. They talk and have some fun while Kazuma just watches from the sidelines. He is bored. Before then, Ayano's father asked her friends for a favor. He requested they pretend to get a free trip to a hot spring and drag Kusama and Ayano along. Kusama can see straight through the ploy. Ayano's father hopes the hot spring will bring out feelings of love between the both of the children. He goes on to look for Genma, who he finds out has gone to the hot spring. At the hot spring, Genma is in the water with Kurika, who recommended it as a form of therapy for him. On the other side, Kazuma keeps yawning because he's tired, and this annoys Ayano. The kids walk into the resort and have separate rooms. They change and prepare for later. Afterwards, the girls and Ren go to the spring by themselves. They can relax and feel very calm. When Kazuma goes on his own to the mixed bath, he chooses to dress naked and meets Katherine. Katherine is shocked to see Kazuma step out of the bath feeling flustered and shy. After the long bathing, Kazuma steps out to see his father, and they clash. Kazuma and his dad are angry with each other. Kazuma defeats his father in their previous battle due to sheer luck, and his dad wants to show him how superior he is. The two begin to fight, and their hits are so powerful that they send ripples through the room. destroying vases, equipment, and everything in the way. Ren and Ayano walk into the fight and are shocked to see the father and son using so much force in a family battle. Ayano is scared, so she tells Ren to walk and calm both of them down, but Ren is scared also because any wrong move could lead to his demise. As both of them contemplate, Kirika walks into the room. Kirika tells Genma that the food prepared for him is getting cold, and immediately he stops fighting. Ayano and Ren are shocked to see Kirika, who tells the children that she is on a secret rendezvous with Genma. Genma tells Kazuma he is lucky, then walks away to get his food. He walks away from the battle. After he leaves, Kazuma feels hungry too, then he walks to eat some food. Later, Kazuma is lying down after eating a big meal. He is with Ren, who tells Kazuma that he is being too harsh to his father, but Kazuma pays him no heed. Instead, he walks out of the room. When he goes out, Ren goes to meet Ayano and her friends, and they talk throughout the conversation. Ren brings up what happened with Kazuma, and Ayano assumes that Kazuma walked to continue the battle with his father. The group starts hearing loud noises, then they follow the trail to its source. There they see Kazuma and his father exchanging blows again, now with much more ferocity. Ayano says that they are father and son alright because they think very alike. Once more, as they fight, Genma comes to distract Genma. She tells him that the bath will close around 11, and then Genma walks away telling his son that he has escaped once more because he needs to bathe. After he leaves, the rest of the group also finds their way to the baths to relax. Kazuma goes to the same bath with his dad, and they clash once more. In the spring, their emotions get the best of them, and they battle. Ren comes, but he feels he is too late because the two are already battling. At the other side of the bath, Ayano and her friends continue to have their bath. When Ayano sees Katherine pondering on something, she asks what Katherine is thinking about. Katherine informs her that she and Kazuma shared the mixed bath, and for this reason, Katherine tells Ayano that she is ahead of her. Katherine's words enrage Ayano, and she brings out her sword to fight Katherine, who also prepares herself for battle, but they are interrupted when Kazuma is sent flying through the walls by his father. Kazuma immediately stands and then goes to continue the fight. Ayano is perplexed because the two of them continue to battle, but Ren tells her that this is the only way the father and son know how to communicate. Immediately, Kazuma ends up winning the battle against his dad. He trips him, then faints, like he will aid him before making him fall once more. Ayano sees this, then she runs to confront Kazuma because of the battle, but she just ends up distracting Kazuma, then Genma lands a heavy punch. Genma then tells his son that they should stop fighting because any more battles will end up destroying the resort. Afterward, Kazuma gets treated by Ayano. He expresses delight because he is finally able to duel with his father. While on the other side, Genma receives treatment by Kirika. After some time, the two of them walk away from the treatment back to the bath. At school, Nanase impresses with her high jump ability. She breaks a record at her school, but she is unaware that someone is taking pictures from the bushes. The pervert keeps snapping other girls with a camera. He even snaps Ayano as he smirks to himself. The pervert goes around the school interrupting the girls' activities. He keeps smirking and saying, it's art, out loud. The girls are disgusted anytime they see him. He is Kosuke Utsumi from Class B, and the rest of the freshmen are creeped out by him, but the girls choose to stay away because they want no problem with him. Nanase sees him. Then she uses a ball to hit his camera. When he falls, she walks up to him to ask what he is doing. Kosuke tries to lie, saying he is taking pictures for the yearbook, but Nanase sees straight through him. She screams that he should stop lying. Then the rest of the girls surround him, saying he cannot be snapping yearbook pictures from such a low angle. One of the girls mistakenly hits his sack, and the lewd pictures he has been taking fall out of the bag. The girls go to their dressing room and figure out that Utsumi placed secret cameras everywhere. They are astonished, then they discipline him seriously afterwards, going as far as to use a bat to beat the young man. Outside the school in an alley, Ayano and Kazuma are confronted by a thug who is stronger than normal humans. He tries to make them scared, but he is ignored. Eventually, he jumps to beat them up, but he is beaten easily by Kazuma. Afterward, he lies down in defeat as Kazuma calls up Kirika to inform her of the incident, because there have been ongoing criminal activities in the area, so she can check if he is in any way related to it. Ayano gets jealous, but Kazuma reminds her that she is more powerful than Kirika. Ayano walks away, then she sees Utsumi angrily going down the road looking all beaten up. The next day at school, she hears about what Utsumi did and learns he was suspended from school for his actions. Then they learn the leader of Utsumi's beat up was in a coma. Nanase says she might have been cursed by Utsumi. At night, one of the girls is scared. She rises from her bed and screams that he should please leave her alone. The next day, students go around and the rumor is spreading that Utsumi placed a curse on the girls who beat him up. But people are surprised by the abuse, and Nanase remains unharmed. Later at school, Utsumi storms into the school being high and mighty. He hits a student away and instructs Nanase to follow him immediately. He leads Nanase to the spot where he was beaten the previous day and confronts her because she left him in the hands of the other girls. The previous day, he shows her his powers, but Nanase remains unimpressed. This infuriates Utsumi, but before he can do anything, Nanase uses a stun gun to incapacitate him. Afterward, Utsumi is taken away by Kirika to the station for the harm he caused the other girls with his powers. Kirika calls the girls in and then tells them that there has been an outbreak of power among the teenagers, suddenly in town. Ayano remembers her earlier interaction with the wind young man who had some power. Kiriki continues to talk about how the teenagers have been getting powers, and this reminds Yukari of some craze she's seen online, yet lately, teenagers have been making posts about some kind of weird video game. Kirika thinks it is nothing but asks for the web address of the game. She looks out the school and wonders what is going on. Then she asks the girls to help with the investigation. Yukari immediately agrees. Ayano hesitates, but she chooses to help. Afterward, Kirika tells Ayano that Kazuma is also involved. Ayano laughs because she feels that a rookie like Kazuma can handle such a big case. Outside the walls of the school, a student is being threatened by a new fire-based user. Luckily, Kazuma saves the student just in time, but he's scared. As Kazuma tries to walk away, he sees a familiar face that surprises him. He looks shocked as he utters her name. Sui Ling. Ren sees a strange person who reminds him of someone from his past. Sui chases it, but the person disappears. At the same time, on another side of the city, Suzuhara and Tatsuya are having fun, walking and hanging out with Ren, but like always, the two of them keep getting in each other's way. At some point, Takamatsu reminds Suzuhara that she told him the previous day that she would accompany him for karaoke. Tatsuya sees this as an opportunity to separate himself and Ren from Suzuhara, so he tells Takamatsu that it's okay to let him and Ren just leave. Takamatsu and Suzuhara to have some fun, but Suzuhara is not having it. Suzuhara hits Tatsuya hard before he can walk away. Then she tells Takamatsu that she never had any intention of following him. She also tells the young boy that his constant pestering is getting on her nerves. Takamatsu smiles and then says she is playing hard to get, and he likes such girls. He puts his hands on Suzuhara, but Ren tells him to cut it out. Ren asks him to leave Suzuhara, but Takamatsu says some words that annoy Ren's friends. They beat Takamatsu up, and when he gets up to hit Tatsuya, Ren uses his strength to intimidate Takamatsu. Takamatsu tells them that they will pay for this because he will report to his older brother who has superpowers. Ren watches in astonishment as Takamatsu says those words, but his two friends laugh because they feel Takamatsu must be daydreaming. They drag Ren away as Takamatsu continues to threaten the three of them. In the next scene, Ayano is enjoying some pastries in a bakery with her friends Nanase and Yukari. They talk about Utsumi's case, and Ayano gets worried for her friends because this case will involve people with powers much like her. Her friends remind her that she has powers just like the people being investigated. Ayano tells them that they should stay away from her if they want to, because she won't blame them as her powers can be scary at times. But her friends tell her they won't do such because they care for and like her. At night, Ayano is walking down the roadside thinking about how lucky she is to have such great friends when she sees Katherine pursuing someone with Metatron. Ayano sees this and then thinks Katherine might be the source of the recent incidents, but Katherine tells Ayano that she has been subcontracted by the police force because of this case. Katherine is happy because she can get a work visa and also aid in cleaning up the evil in the current country. The girl attacks Katherine and Ayano, but they easily deal with her talks. She then asks them if they got their powers from Pandemonium. The girl calls herself Si-chan and thinks the two people she is fighting are players of the same game. She attacks them one more time, but this time the girls quickly beat her up. Katherine receives a call from the police and briefs them about the current situation. She leaves Ayano alone. Elsewhere at the top of a building, Karazuma receives a call from Kirika, who sounds worried about him. She asks about his whereabouts. He tells her that he does not know where he is, and he sounds apathetic on the phone. Karazuma's eyes lack life. On the other side of town, as Ren walks with his friends, they are dragged to the alleyway by some strange men. Takamatsu is behind this and instructs his brother to please beat Ren and his friends up. Takamatsu's brother tries to attack Ren, but Ren easily deflects and evades his attack. Ren then notices off-putting. A Yuma is what lies behind this man's sudden power. Takamatsu's brother is frustrated. Then he mentions that Vesalius must have lied to him since he was told that he is the only high-ranking fire attribute player. Ren hears the name Vesalius and understands that he is the person responsible for the Yuma, which now possesses this man. Ren then goes on to easily defeat the man. His friends see his actions, but are not scared of him one bit, despite his powers. Ren goes on to ask the man where he got his powers from. Elsewhere, Katherine is asking Sichan questions about Pandemonium, a website that makes people download digital Yuma that grants them powers. Afterward, you are not able to access it again, but players do battle against each other to gain XP. Takamatsu's brother tells Ren and his friends how he got to Pandemonium after receiving instructions that led him to random places for a while, before he finally arrived at the gates of Pandemonium. When he entered, he met Vesalius, who told him he had reached the required XP for an upgrade. Takamatsu's brother cannot give an accurate description of the house, but tells the friends enough details about the surroundings to help them in their investigation. Kirika and the rest rush to find the location, but they figure out it's been hidden with magic. Ren uses his firepower to confirm this, and as he and his friends try to escape, he is whisked away from them. Later at the training room, Kirika is seated with everyone and describes the current situation to the boss. The name of the gaming site is Pandemonium. Yumas are used to power it, and once the game is downloaded, it takes over the person. They have interviewed different people and have realized that the Yumas are slowly eating away at the individuals to whom they've given power. As everyone speaks, Kazuma remembers the face he saw earlier, but he tells himself that no matter how much the person might resemble her, the person he saw cannot be Tsui. He says out loud that Tsui's eyes were green, then tells Kirika that he won't be involved in the current investigation, but he wants to go find the people behind it on his own because he believes they messed with his memory in some way and wants to return the favor. As he walks away, Ayano calls out to him, and as she tries to convince Kusama to stay, she receives a call that informs her of Ren's disappearance on hearing that Kusama is unable to hide his shock regarding the situation. Then they run quickly to join the rest to find the source of Ren's disappearance. Ayano calms the rest, reminding them that Ren has a very powerful brother in Kazuma. Then they go to the building where the games are being developed. The individual behind this is so powerful that he can block Kazuma's sight from seeing the building hidden with magic. Kazuma uses his power to open the gate of Pandemonium. He then makes his way into the building. Then the rest follow him afterward into the building. On entering, Kazuma sees a reception. He looks around, but the place seems distorted. He tries to use his powers to find his way out to destroy it. At the other building, Ayano uses a chair to break the glass. Then she and Kirika notice the distortion occurring at Pandemonium. Kirika uses her powers to open a gate for them to pass through so they can make their way into the building through the gate. On entering, they reach a staircase and see someone who calls herself Lapis, and she serves her master care, Vesalius. They ask her to take them to her masters, but she refuses, telling them the master only accepts people who have mayor appointments. Ayano tries to take a step forward, but Lapis tells her that any more steps will cause her to become hostile, and unwanted guests are not allowed into Pandemonium. Lapis goes to pick up a giant sword, and then Ayano summons Enharia to fight her. The battle ensues. Then Ayano notices that Lapis's sword has other special qualities besides its size. At the other end, Kazuma is still trying to figure out what is going on as he uses his powers to destroy his surroundings. Then in darkness, Ren uses his powers to create some light. In the darkness, a voice calls out to him telling him not to worry, because everywhere will be lightened up soon. Immediately, the whole place becomes illuminated. Then he sees a strange-looking man with long hair and a half-blue face staring at him. The man is sitting on a throne. The man stands up. Then he tells Ren that his powers have reached the appropriate level for him to make some progress soon. He asks Ren if he is interested in changing in his class, but Ren tells the weird man that he is not interested. The man laughs and then tells Ren that unlike the previous people who entered here, jumped at the opportunity to become stronger. He then shows Ren the rest of his friends and the travails they face. Ren screams for his brother out of fear. Then his brother uses his wind to immediately cut through time and space to find Ren. Kazuma's act shocks the evil man, and once Kazuma sees him, he recognizes the weird-looking evil man as Bernhardt Rhodes. Elsewhere, the girls keep fighting, as Bernhardt has a confrontation with Kazuma. Bernhardt tells Kazuma that the only reason he has lasted so long is because he sees Kazuma as just an annoyance, not someone deserving of death. Kazuma laughs on hearing this. He has Bernhardt, who he thinks is because he feels the power difference is much between them. Immediately, the walls break and Tsui's look-alike walks in. As soon as Kazuma sees her, he is lost for words and stares. After entering the new room, Tapis stares with apathy at Kazuma, and then Ayano runs into the room to hit her. The force sends Lapis flying across the room. Then as Ayano runs to deal the finishing blow, Kazuma, to her shock, stops her with his wing. Ayano calls out to Kazuma, but he keeps staring at Tapis. He calls out Tsui's name one more time. This meeting enrages Kazuma because he believes Tsui is dead. They made the devil eat her flesh. her heart everything. Bernhardt tells Kazuma that Lapis is Tsui and he knows because he was there when everything happened. He tells Kazuma that Lapis was created with residual consciousness from the thoughts Tsui left behind when she died, but Kazuma is not having it. He dismisses her as an imitation. Bernhardt tells Kazuma that this woman before him is the spitting image of the person he loved, whom he was unable to save because of his powerlessness. This enrages Kazuma, and he uses his powers to send a wind attack at Bernhardt, but Lapis blocks the hit to Kazuma's surprise. Then he tells the group that he is done for now. But before he goes, he tells them that the powers he shared for the people of the town have also been shared with Lapis. And Lapis goes on to reveal her power. She is a sword master. A massive sword is created from Lapis's power, and immediately it cuts through everything as the walls fall. Bernhardt escapes with Lapis, as Kazuma screams in annoyance. At jail, Utsumi is going nuts thinking of what he did, and if the girls will retaliate, he does not take responsibility for his actions, but blames it on everyone else. As he bickers, he sees a writing on the wall telling him congratulations. Later in the training room, Kirika shows the group the live footage from the scene of the battle. It shows a massive sword arising from pandemonium, then destroying a tower. She tells everyone that the footage released to the public will be edited, and the news will say an explosion occurred. The group feels a bit calm, but Kirika has some bad news. A new version of Pandemonium has started. It gives people a choice to make on changing their class. She shows them what Utsumi saw the previous night. Then Kirika tells Ayano that after Utsumi was done registering for this Pandemonium, he disappeared out of his cell without any trace. Ayano screams because she is worried for Nanase, but Kirika calms her down by explaining that operatives have been sent to protect Nanase. Kirika says there is more bad news because 5 other people have changed their classes. Ren mentions Bernhardt's name, and Genma knows who he is. He is someone of high authority at Almagest, so it is shocking he is involved in such evil. Afterward, Kirika explains that Almagest has a score with Kazuma, which involves Tsui Aka Lapis. On hearing this, Ayano becomes angry, but Kirika tells her to calm down because everyone has their secrets. Kirika then goes on to narrate the story of Kazuma and how he got involved in this situation. She closes the laptop and then starts it from 4 years ago before Kazuma became a contractor. Kazuma is woken up by Tsui from his bed. He gets up to see the majestic view as Tsui goes to prepare breakfast. Kazuma and Tsui lead a normal life apart from some shenanigans here and there. Kazuma helps a lady save her cat, but she refuses to pay him. Later at night, he goes to a bar to greet his friends. They ask him about his day, and he tells them that he helped a woman out, but she did not pay him. He tries to make some small talk before Tsui asks him to help out in the shop because work is too much. He helps Tsui out, and his friends tell him to take care of her well because he has changed so much since he met her. Later, they go back to the apartment and stare into the bright night sky. Kazuma tells Tsui about his family and what they are really into, and he tells her he wants power badly. She asks him if he still wants power, because if so, he should return home. However, Kazuma tells Tsui that he feels much better in his current location because he has peace of mind. Tsui then instructs him that he should please protect her. In present times, Kazuma is reminiscing about these events, and it infuriates him. He promises to kill Bernhardt and Lapis. Ayano is at the park and she looks at the water, thinking about Kazuma and what he must have gone through. Then somewhere else, the police have gone to investigate a brawl at night in the playground. Kazuma is not able to get his promise to Tsui, and what happened out of his mind, he keeps seeing Lapis and it's making him get more enraged. At Kazuma's apartment, Kirika, Ayano, and Ren use his keys to enter his suite, but they are unable to find him. They learn from the hotel personnel's timeline that he has not been back home since the Pandemonium incident. Ayano is worried for Kazuma. In the slums of town, a group of men are getting ready for a battle between 2 second-level mages. The mages battle, and the one who can use spirit beasts uses his powers to overwhelm the other person involved in the fight. The guy tries to run, but the group pushes him back. Because of this, he requests for more power and gets it. He then uses the upgrade to easily beat up the other fighter. The other fighter notices a change in his opponent's eyes. Right now, he even has wings as they prepare to continue the battle, but they are interrupted by Kazuma. Kazuma calls them by name and asks to know where they got their power upgrades from. He easily deals with their power. Then he goes on to use his powers to investigate the man's brain to find out if he is lying. Kazuma's powers make the rest of the people afraid. The opponent tries to use his powers on Kazuma, but it has absolutely no effect. Kazuma uses the same nasty powers on the second opponent to get some info, but he gets nothing about Pandemonium's location. On the next day, the police come to the site where Pandemonium battles have been occurring, and winners who can progress are called seeds. Kirika tells Ayano and Ren that a magic user who uses magic has been going around beating the seeds till they close to death to extract information. At Pandemonium, Utsumi is laughing because he has gotten more powerful. Lapis tells her master that she is unable to understand his plans, but the master, Bernhardt, tells her that although their data collection is almost complete, he will not leave the country because he is finding the current situation interesting. His words have no impact on Lapis, but he goes on to tell her that she should agonize and try to find her meaning, because although she is not human, Lapis is not just a doll too. Lapis was created with emotions and a heart. Bernhardt tells her that overcoming this is going to be her greatest task. Elsewhere, later at night, Katherine and a police officer are watching Nanase's home to ensure she is safe. The police officer senses a dark force approaching, and she covers Nanase's home, but the force easily destroys her force field. Kazuma turns out to be the one who destroyed the force field. He incapacitates the officer with one hit afterward, then mocks Katherine as he walks away. Katherine does not accept this. She confronts him, and both of them battle. She uses Metatron, but gets easily defeated. After the battle, Nanase walks out of the house, and Kazuma's eyes shine a bright red as he watches her. In the morning, Katherine and the incapacitated officer are carried by an ambulance to the hospital as Kirika watches in shock. Ayano runs to look for her friend. She asks Kirika, but she is told to calm down. Kirika then takes Ayano to her car, where she explains the current situation, including the fact that Kazuma was to blame for all this. Ayano doubts it's possible, but Kirika shows her irrevocable proof that Kazuma was behind the barrier breaking. Ayano asks if Kazuma has switched sides, but Kirika says no. He only aided because he wanted Utsumi to kidnap Nanase, so he can be able to catch him, so he can find the location of Pandemonium. Ayano says Kazuma cannot do such things. He has many bad qualities, but he won't be anything like this. Kirika tells Ayano that the Kazuma she knew previously was very different. 2 years ago, she was assigned to a case with a man who was called the Wind Devil. He used anything to his advantage and did not care about hurting anyone. After the case, she was glad because she was not going to see him again. That man is Kazuma. Ayano feels downtrodden, but Kirika tells her that the current Kazuma was different while he was in Japan, but something has changed him. He will do anything he can to get Bernhardt and kill him. The women arrive at Ayano's stop. Then Kirika tells Ayano that she must defeat Suuki because she is the only hope they have of returning Kazuma to the present before it is too late. Ayano is on her bed, thinking about Kazuma. She is worried for him and remembers Suuki. Ayano remembers Kirika's words, that she is the only person who can defeat Suuki. Elsewhere, an officer cannot believe that Kazuma is aiding Utsumi so he can find his location. The officer then states that he wants to take down what he has mapped trying to pinpoint Utsumi's position, but Kirika tells him not to because she wants to use it to trace Kazuma. She cannot let him continue on his rampage. Elsewhere at the park, Ren is thinking to himself about his brother when his friends come out from the bushes to check on him. They tell Ren that they are worried about him and have come to aid. As they discuss, Ren hears a battle taking place between Kazuma and someone else. He runs to Kazuma, but what he sees shocks him. His brother has changed and is far harsher and more despicable with eyes that burn a bright red. Ren tries to talk to him, but his friends carry him away for his safety. The police come afterward to investigate but see nothing of note. Kirika wonders what led Kazuma to fight this battle at the park, because the person Kazuma battled was not a seed. At the hospital, Ren tells the others that they must stop Kazuma. He understands how he feels because he cannot imagine the pain Kazuma is going through. Mourning someone he once loved, then seeing the person brought back to life, and then having someone take advantage of her, Ren cannot forgive that, but he feels that Kazuma needs to still be stopped. At night, Yukari does her research from her home regarding Pandemonium, and finally, she gets a clue of when the next one will take place. Ayano is seated worried about the current situation. When Katherine brings her a drink, Katherine feels frustrated because she won't be able to help because of her current injury. Ayano continues to ponder on Kirika's words to her about waking Kazuma up to the present with something much more worthy than the past. Katherine gets jealous because she understands that it is something that involves love. She tries to explain it, but Ayano remains clueless. Kirika walks into the room and tells Ayano that she is the only one who can get a reaction from Kazuma because of the bond they've shared in the past. Kazuma remembers the moments she and Kazuma have shared in the past. Because of this, her cheeks become rosy. Kirika tells Ayano to have more confidence in herself. In the next scene, Yukari goes to a gathering to see some seeds who are waiting for Versalius. Utsumi comes out controlling Nanase beside him. Then he makes an announcement given to him by Versalius. There will be a race on the next day starting from the Central Park. Yukari types all this information down, but before long she is spotted by Utsumi. Yukari tries to escape, but she is cornered by Utsumi. who smirked evilly. At the hospital, Ayano receives a message regarding everything, including the fact that her cover has been blown. Kirika explains that Kazuma is aware of the location of Pandemonium, but has chosen not to attack yet because he is waiting for Bernholt aka Vesalius to be almost done with his plans before he burns everything down as he smiles. This will be the perfect revenge for him. Although Bernhardt is aware of Kazuma's plot too, and he is waiting for both of them, this is a dark game of poker, which is about revenge and intrigue, where the chips are their lives. However, a new card has been dealt, the descent of Pandemonium, which is happening the next day, so they don't have much time left. After hearing all this, Ayano strengthens her resolve. She tells the rest that she will put a stop to Kazuma's deeds, even if she is still unsure of how Kazuma feels towards her. Asano tells Kirika that she wants to make Kazuma remove his attention from the past, from Tsui, but to notice the present. Meanwhile, at Pandemonium, Utsumi tells Bernhardt that he wants to defeat him and become the ruler of Pandemonium. Yukari tries to escape, but her path is blocked by Lapis and Nancy. Lapis asks her where she is going because things are about to become interesting. High above the park, Kazuma watches with red glaring eyes. He sees Pandemonium, and he smirks to himself. He says, "Just you wait, Bernhardt, I will kill you." Elsewhere, Genma says that he will follow Ren and Ayano so he can put an end to all this by killing his son. Ayano stands her ground. She swears there will be no need to kill Kazuma. She uses the enhera. Then Genma agrees not to interfere, and he leaves the room. As soon as he leaves, Ayano collapses because of how tense she is from the situation. Ayano's dad asks if she has a plan, but she doesn't for the time being. Later at the park, the seeds begin to battle each other, so that they can thin out their numbers before Pandemonium begins. Kirika tells Ren that they will leave the seeds to battle each other since they are enemies, but Ren refuses. He uses his powers to cure some seeds of the powers they possess. At midnight, the bell rings, and Pandemonium is revealed to everyone around. It has grown bigger than it was previously, and the people who it previously gave powers to have become fully fledged Yumas. Once they have transformed, there is nothing that can be done. Immediately, Kazuma arrives, and Ayano feels a very murderous intent in the air from him. Kirika tells Ayano and Ren to go further without her because she is weak and cannot aid much. Ayano and Ren leave her and run to the Pandemonium, where they see Kazuma destroy lots of the Yumas. Once he stops, Ren tries to get to him, explaining that revenge cannot bring anyone back to life because once you are dead, you are gone. Kazuma responds that he knows this. The deed do not feel anything once they die. They become nothingness. Kazuma tells Ren that if he thinks Kazuma wants to kill Bernhard because of Tsui, he is very wrong. This is just a personal decision for him, and if Ren or anyone gets in his way, he will kill the person too. Kazuma tells Ren to shut up because his words will not affect him. And then Ayano brings out enhera and tells Kazuma that she will stop him on her own. Ayano is scared because Kazuma's power is overwhelming, and it also feels very ominous when she shakes. Kazuma tells her to get out of his way, but she refuses. She yells that she is mad because Kazuma is behaving too ugly for her to accept. She promises to open his eyes so he can see how bad his actions are. Ayano and Kazuma battle, and as they battle, she understands why she feels fear. Previously, Kazuma was always far too strong to battle her, so she was not afraid, but now he is weaker, and she can see that. So that is what is making her angry and scared. Ayano uses the skills she has learned from Kazuma in the past to fight Kazuma. As they battle, Ayano starts overwhelming Kazuma with her power, and she keeps on shouting that this is not the real him. After some time, she reaches a tipping point and unlocks a higher power, the Crimson Flame. She tells Kazuma that it is he who taught her that powers are meant to be used to protect, and that power was obtained so that no one else will be lost because you will be powerful enough not to abandon anything anymore. Her words are getting to Kazuma, and he remembers his past with Tsui. Asano goes on to ask Kazuma why he is stuck in the past. He should focus on the present because right now, who is he using his powers to protect? Her words snap Kazuma back to his senses. His eyes turn back to their normal color and he stops the evil dark wind around him. He reminds himself that this power he obtained was to ensure no one gets taken away from him again. Kazuma admires Ayano's flames and he is back to his senses, but she is unaware. She uses Crimson Flame to hit him, but Kazuma parries her whole attack afterward. They make up, then Kazuma, Ren, and Ayano head into Pandemonium to rescue their friends and put a stop this. Kazuma remembers the horror he went through as Bernhardt and the Almagest killed Tsui right in front of him as she screamed in pain and despair. While walking through the halls, Ayano asks Kazuma what he will do if meets Lapis, but he tells her that there is nothing to think about. because Lapis is just an imitation of Tsui who died a long time ago. On entering the next room, they see Nanase and Yukari, but they are being controlled. Lapis walks into the room and then explains that her master has already headed home. She brings out Utsumi, who is merging with a crystal. Utsumi is dismayed and worried. Lapis then tells the group that this experiment was done to create human-demon composites, Homo superior. This shocks the group. Then Nanase explains the way it was carried out. Tsui then explains that after finding out about Kazuma's presence, they decided to torture him emotionally. Almagest are the worst kind of criminals, the ones who do it for pleasure. After saying the words, Tsui cuts Ustumi, then a massive incarnation sign comes up, one that is meant to be used to summon Belial, a demon from hell. Kazuma becomes annoyed because of Lapis's words. He tries to attack her, but she uses the words to make him weak. Ayano goes to fight Lapis, but she uses Ayano's friends to defend herself. Kazuma uses his magic to separate Nanase and Yukari so they can be safe. As they battle, the ground begins to shake as Belial rises. Belial is powerful, but this sacrifice of 100 people will only allow him last for a few seconds, which will be enough for him to destroy the city of Tokyo, according to Lapis. Kazuma uses his powers to carry himself, Ren, Asano, and Asano's friends away from that location. Then after dropping Nanase and Yukari safely, the other three decide to use their powers to fire one shot in hopes that it can at least stall the great demon Belial. After using his wind magic to carry his friends higher, Kazuma then uses the power of the contract. As he does this, he remembers once more the suffering in which Tsui went through as she was eaten by a demon right before him as he cried in pain. He closes his eyes and then says that rather than the past, he will protect the future. Ayano summons Enraiha, and Ren steadies himself as the demon rises from the ground. The three of them drop in one hit at the massive demon. They just have to hold him for a few seconds and it works. They accomplish their aim, and the city is saved while they try to recover. Bernhardt shows up out of nowhere. The group is surprised, and he asks why they think he will leave when he had such a spectacle to witness. He goes on to congratulate Kazuma on his victory. Kazuma hopes he won't have to battle, but Bernhardt puts him at ease, saying he won't fight right now because he senses a power comparable to Kazuma. Genma is close by. Bernhardt walks away with Lapia, but Kazuma tries to stop them. He insists that he wants to know Tsui's last thoughts. Lapia turns back and with a cold, distant stare, she tells Kazuma that the last thought was that she wants to kill Kazuma. These words hit Kazuma deeply as Lapia disappears. Ayano tries to comfort him, but instead, Kazuma hugs her tightly as tears drop from his eyes. After they leave, Ayano tells Kazuma that it must have been a lie conjured up by Lapis. Lapis feels it is possible since he could not do anything to stop Tsui's death. Ayano tells Kazuma that she hopes he does not want to let Lapis kill him, and he apologizes, saying regardless of his past, he plans on protecting the present. Ayano is angry because of Kazuma's words. She tells him that it is not his protection she needs but wants him to also rely on her when push comes to shove, not just keep her on the sidelines. Kazuma apologizes and then smacks Ayano. She pursues him, while her father watches from afar with the rest of their friends and family concerned for his daughter.